Peace and light, Herbert Robert William Hennis, aka Owen Reed. You can go to my first YouTube video and you'll find out why they changed my name illegally. But neither here nor there. Got a lot to address. I've got to do it very, very quickly, and I'll try to get into it and be as concise as I can. You know I can't do that, so bad luck. I'm trying hard. Right, let's be first up. The rally in Canberra. Went there in the weekend with a lovely Joe, had a fantastic time. So happy to be there among so many people. Let's address the issues that the media said. First of all, Channel 9 said 2,500 people. ABC said 10,000 people. Let me just explain to you something. We're at Camp Epic, which is Canberra Showgrounds. I walked from one side right around near the oval stands, right through all the campsite, and believe me, it's a hard walk, all around back up the other side, past our campsite, right up to the top. I didn't even get to the end because I couldn't, it was too far to go, out into the paddocks where the farmer had opened it up there, his gates, to let people camp into his paddocks, because there was just no more room. There's no more room. One thing I want to address there, Lifeline CEO came out and said, we had the book fair there this weekend and we couldn't do it. It's very, very, very irresponsible of these protesters to be there because it's such a wonderful event, and we didn't want to have our staff there and hold it because, you know, we didn't need them exposed to this kind of thing. Well, let me explain what she was talking about. Lifeline's done a deal with the government because they get government grants for their workers. They've allowed a mandate for their workers to get the government grants. So when Scotty says he doesn't mandate to others, that's the bullshit he's telling you. It's a lie. That's the first thing. Second thing is, they had the area fenced off. They'd known a week in advance. The AFP had told them, look, you won't be able to have it next weekend, simply because we know there's people coming in and you're just not going to be able to hold it there. So they'd cancelled it a week before, but they'd left the fence up, and the AFP tried to protect that fence. Not protect it. They had a couple of officers there saying they can't touch the fence. Now, the traffic was built up for 80 kilometres. The streets were blocked. And the rally organisers saying, you've got to take the fence down, mate. Let these people in. Look at the traffic. It's blocked. And they're just going, yeah, well, you know, makes you look stupid, doesn't it? No, it makes you look stupid. So they took the fence down. And then what happened with the AFP officers? They left. They went away. And so people were able to get in and park. There was so many people pouring in. So they didn't bash the barricades down. They just simply removed the fence so the cars could get into one area and park there in a vacant area. It wasn't Lifeline, there was nothing there. It had been set aside for a week for them. And they're not there. So that's the first thing I need to address. Second one was up at Parliament House itself. ABC said that there were several arrests and protesters broke down barricades. Not true. The film crew were there. One guy jumped the fence. Was he a plant? Don't know. But he jumped the fence and he got arrested. Big deal. You have streakers at bloody cricket matches and footy matches. I don't give a rat's ass. One guy worked quickly on it with the footage, and that went on to the news. Little do they know that we've got about 30 times more viewers in independent journalism these days, with Avi Yemeni, Sam McClellan, fantastic. True Arrow, you've got to follow Sam, you're a great guy. Yusra, MMAV, Jamal, all these people, Aussie Cossack, they're all showing this stuff. And so they got 30 times more viewers than normal TV stations would ever hope to have. And it's all unedited and live, and you get it pure, unadulterated footage, right? Not the stuff that the MSM put together and show you on the news. That's just bullshit. Now, to show you the numbers again, to the march, we went to Parliament House, couldn't get there. There's a bridge quite a distance short, and it's quite a long bridge that goes up to Parliament House. We couldn't get to the bridge. In fact, it was so far short of the bridge, we gave up trying to get up there. When I turned around and looked behind us, there were miles and miles of people behind us, and there was no way we were going anywhere. So we shuffled off to the left, got through the crowd, went over to Old Parliament House. You need to understand, New Parliament House, the head of the Corporation of Australia, Old Parliament House, down over here to the left or to the east, which is the seat of power and absolute government in Australia. The Constitution was written and signed. That's there. We went over there, packed to the rafters. So you get two groups. 10,000? Bullshit. 10,000? Bullshit. Let me explain to you. The AFP released their figures, their official figures. They got technology all around the place. I'll explain a bit more about their technology in a minute. They count cars coming in and out because they lavish money on the ACT. There's projects on all over time. Nobody's protesting up there. They're just lapping it up with the public servants, getting things built everywhere. Now, the AFP released their official figures. 1.3 million vehicles entered Canberra in a 24-hour period prior to the protest. That's up nearly 85%, 84.26% on normal traffic into Canberra. So let's drop 500,000 vehicles off that, and let's say 800,000 unaccounted vehicles entered Canberra for no reason 24 hours prior to the march. Right. Think about that. Just think about that. There were 2 other campgrounds there that were full. Motels, accommodation, all full. Everything was, we had friends staying in a motel. So they're the things you need to understand. If they're telling you there was 10,000, it's the biggest lie you've ever heard in yourself. In Camp Epic, I estimated 200,000 conservatively in Camp Epic alone. In Camp Epic alone, 200,000. Just there. Conservatively. Now, a lot of people went home on the day. They're only there for the day, parked, went home. They weren't there that night when I was there. They weren't there, they'd gone. We had people, so many people from Victoria and Queensland. Oh my God, Queensland. Tasmania, South Australia. Now, before I go any further, that protest was in Canberra. Mainstream media did not show you the protests in Victoria and Melbourne on the weekend, or the ones in Western Australia on the weekend, or in Hobart on the weekend, or in Darwin on the weekend, or in Adelaide on the weekend, or in Brisbane on the weekend, or in Ottawa on the weekend, or in America, in all the states, right around America on the weekend, particularly New York, which was massive, or the high school students in America walking out by their hundreds of thousands demanding the end to mask mandates. They didn't show you the protests on the weekend in Sweden, in England, in Macedonia, in Italy, in France, in Belgium, in Germany, in Norway. They didn't show you the protests, because if they show you all these protests, you'll understand that this has caused an outrage and people worldwide are vibrating. Their frequencies are joining. People are getting the feel of this. They're feeling it. People who have been involved in this no longer want to be a part of this. They're catching the vibration, the frequency, and they're joining the crew. Well, we had a wonderful ceremony here yesterday. For those who don't know, we fought with the family, fought for everybody for years and nothing had to be anything like that, but that's people for you. We bought the old homestead here, the original old house in Gymea, so we're knocking it down. 3 weeks' time, hopefully it'll be gone and we'll put up a brand new building with no memories. Pure. And we had as Joe wanted, we had the Hindu priest here yesterday for her and the family. It was fantastic. He came and did a cleansing, a bit of a juju, just like the Aboriginals do every time we have the meetings and the rallies. They do their cleansing and their saging and their burning. It's brilliant. They do the welcome to country. Loving it. So we had him here yesterday. I got a chance to spend just a minute with him on my own. It was great. He's a pretty wise man. But anyway, one thing he was saying was that you never end evil. What you do is you drive it out. You increase love, you increase the shine. Once you increase the shine, it reaches into all the corners and it pushes it out, and it pushes it until it can no longer be seen. It's forced into the outer areas, because that's what love, that's what goodness, that's what truth does, you know? And that's what's happening here right now, right around the world. And they don't want to show you this because there would be a worldwide revolution, which is actually happening as we speak. It's actually happening, right? So that's how that goes. You need to understand, people are catching this frequency. They're understanding that we're resonating now. The matrix is crumbling. Things are going wrong. They're trying hard to keep the lies going, but it's breaking down. And it will continue to break down. And we will not stop. We will not stop this. It's not going to stop. The only stop is death. That's the only stop, is the end. Now we know there's some really, really bad shit that's going to happen. We understand that, because there's going to be a great battle, a final battle, where they're not going to stop this. They're going to come after us. They're already coming after the kids, and we know that's not going to happen. We're going to have to push even harder to stop this, although people are willingly throwing themselves into this. But we say that. We understand that. Graham Hood came to our campsite with John Larder. We were fortunate in the site where we were. There was one of the organisers, so they came and spent time there and had dinner and got to talk and chat. And yes, Kim and Sue, I did wander off to rephrase that, snuck off to bed because I've been up since 1 o'clock and I'm bloody old. But I did hear a lot of it, and I could hear from, I swear, what was being said, but I did see a lot of it. I just couldn't stay awake. You know what? Leanne knows I'm like, suddenly it's like, that's it, tapping out. So, but he got to share a lot of things. And one of the things he shared from stage was that he'd been persecuted because of his religious beliefs. He's the SDA, Seventh-day Adventist, believes Saturday's the Sabbath. That's his ideology. He believes that, and he honours that. He has to answer for that, as I do, as anybody has, for their own lives, right? Now, he'd been told and threatened to calm it down, don't talk about the religious aspect of things. When we've got Indigenous people doing spiritual things at the start, which we all love and enjoy, and it's how it goes. Ricardo Bosi opens with the Lord's Prayer. It's not a matter of an issue. I'm not interested in whether anybody likes this bloke, likes that bloke, hates that guy, doesn't like her, hates her, whatever. The division is not going to happen. They're trying very hard, but it won't happen. The unity is gluing us together, and it's going to come together forcefully. As he said, if he felt called to be there and he was there, then he's going to say what he feels called to say. He doesn't have a sheet he reads off. There's no written speeches. It's all from the heart. No, but different than what I'm doing now. He just does that. And he's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I honour them. And him and his wife have gone to extraordinary lengths dealing with sexual abuse children, and have done lots and lots of uni training and all sorts of stuff just to be involved in illegal practices, just to be involved in the helping of children involved in sexual trafficking, as has my Joe. Now, they all can't be lying. They all can't be lying. You know, none of this is made up. We've just been having it hidden from us. You will have known that on the weekend, Scott Morrison, charges were levelled at Scott Morrison due with child sex trafficking and sex prostitution by a couple. Those information and that video has been given to the AFP. Let's not hold our collective breath, because we saw what happened with Joe and Hunter Biden and the Clintons and whoever else is involved in this, Kamala Harris, Planned Parenthood, the whole thing, with the exposure of the sale of fetal body parts, etc., etc. So we understand that there's a huge amount of money and power behind this that will fight against anything that's brought to expose them. So we understand that. BlackRock Vanguard, we know this. So we just want the 28 names. So though, despite Scott Morrison coming out and saying mandates are not federal, because we never do that, that's a lie, because then he added at the end of that, except if you're frontline workers. Now, the definition of frontline workers is very vague, but it goes right down to your local massage person or even a psychologist who works online doing Zoom meetings. They're mandated as well. So Scotty's a liar, straight up front. That's true. Then he says the states are the ones, they're doing it, I can't stop them. Another lie. There's a thing called a constitution, Scotty, although you are up in New Parliament House, which is called, right, the Corporation of Australia, not the old Parliament House, the seat of power and constitution. Although you're up there in the Corporation of Australia, you're still under the constitution whether you think you are or not. And what happens under that constitution, Scotty, just giving you a bit of a schooling on some law here, all the states are there, you're on top, you're the Prime Minister. You're elected there to make sure they don't secede or do things that are unconstitutional. That's what you're there for. That's what you're there for. Like when Dan Andrews tried to sign the Belt and Road Initiative with the Chinese Communist Party, after public pressure, you eventually bowed in and stopped him doing it. Well, at least we think you have. We think he hasn't signed it. We'll see. But here's the thing, Scotty. That's what you're elected for. You've abrogated your duties, your rights, your responsibility as Prime Minister of Australia. You can fuck off. You've done it. We're coming after you, mate. You're gone. You and your cronies will be exposed. The 28 will be exposed. The Woods Royal Commission report on pedophilia in Australia amongst our politicians, former and current serving, and a former PM, barristers, police commissioners, you name it, public figures, will be exposed, Scotty. It will be made public. That 90-year suppression order that your Christian boss, John Howard, put on there, and that you as a supposed Christian running around with your lovely wife, Jen, trying to look Australian, right? You won't expose it either. You won't remove that suppression order and letting us know. And if you're a Christian out there and you're watching this, you disgust me. If you haven't stood up to this Prime Minister and said, hey, I don't give a shit if he goes to Hillsong, he's going to hell. He won't remove that suppression order naming, police report naming, those 28 pedophiles who are known by police, current serving and former serving politicians and an ex-Prime Minister and, that's right, hierarchy within the governing bodies of Australia. So if you're not standing up to them, by the way, we just had by-elections on the weekend. There was 4 in New South Wales, and 2 of them were lost to Labor. But interestingly enough, the South Coast seat where I am, in the far South Coast, had a 14% swing against the incumbent Liberal member there. Now, had Andrew Constance, the former member there, run, they may very well have won it. May very well have, but he moved away from it because he's only in federal politics and he's got bigger fish he wants to fry and he's off on his own journey. Now, interestingly enough, if you're a fan of Andrew Constance, and I was for a while, but then I understood a little more and found out more about him, saw the lies that he's broken and the promises he hasn't kept, like everybody. He also has never, ever, ever demanded that his Prime Minister, his boss, remove the suppression order on the Woods Commission naming those pedophiles. He's never done it. And if they haven't done it, I don't care what side of the political fence you're on, I don't care who you are. If you've never done it, you're on the outer with me. You're no good. Whether you're independent or whether you're a party member. If you haven't demanded that they remove that suppression order, you're no good. You're out. End of story. Now, Maddie, was awesome running into you. Bang, literally bumping into you in the middle of that. That was brilliant. Great to see you, son. You look great. Deborah, I'm sorry I didn't get to see you either. Joe and Fiona and Louie, thanks for the photos. Didn't get to catch up with you. I apologise, but we will. Ramona, brilliant. 17 years, all the way from the Gold Coast. Love your work, lady. You're a tremendous person. Really fantastic. Brenda, John, whoever else. I'm sorry I didn't get to see you. Paul, Ollie, was great catching up with you. That was a difficult thing as well. Peace and light from the old guy Australia. Don't believe the media lies. It was all bullshit. By the way, yes, the AFP did deploy dissonance machines. They had them set up, broadcasting around the crowd so you couldn't upload any videos. Yes, they do have a detrimental effect on health, particularly children. That didn't seem to bother the AFP, provided they stopped any videos going out of the protest and what was going on. They didn't give a stuff. They didn't care. They had them operating. We've got plenty of footage of these things operating. My Navy friend informed me, he knows what they are. They use them when they're boarding, for boarding parties, so that the people can't communicate and they get a bit discombobulated while they're booming these machines at the boats that they're trying to board. So yes, they did use them and they didn't care what happened. They didn't care. To us, that's what happens. To them, we're irrelevant. They don't care. No, they're just protesters. Boom, straight into the crowd with these machines. But we're vibrating on a different frequency. All around the world, we're all joining as one. It's catching, because that's what it does. The matrix is crumbling. The lies are being exposed. We'll continue to push. We'll continue to resonate. We'll continue to join. Peace and light from an old guy Australia. Love you very much, and thanks for your support.